What's good, y'all? This your boy Blak G 92. Let's say today's been good aside from having these called into the office by my boss, accusing me of something I know for a fact I would never and haven't done, which is something to do with dipping a mop in the toilet, which I've never done that ever in my life. And boy, maybe I could have handled it better, but the thing is, like, if you accuse me of something, I will be kind of aggressive, because that's something against my character. And I haven't really mastered the best way to handle being accused of something I know for a fact I didn't do. So, not to mention, hell, I can't even remember being in that building, because he claims that they got taped me going to the bathroom with a dry mop head and come out with a wet one. So the only time and plus not to mention what I can recall or anything, what I can recall, I don't recall having to use a toilet to wet my mop. That never happened, and I'll say this day, and I'll say when I get back to the office, not the office tomorrow, but back to my workplace tomorrow morning, because they're going to do some bullshit meeting about it, and some other bullshit they're going to addressing the real shit that's going on at the job. But I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm in my rant right here, and just say, the only thing I can really recall is like maybe getting it a little wet with a sink, but that's the only thing I can really remember, because half these buildings look the fucking same. So it's hard to really remember everything you've done, especially in a hot ass day. It's gonna get a lot more hot. So yeah, and yeah, the meeting it was okay, I guess. And then I want to still bring up the fact that a few instances where I may not be in the best mood, and like I said, I'm working on it, and it's not pointing fingers at anybody at the job in particular. There's days I just don't want to be there, so nothing always deep, and just want to say that too. And maybe I could probably work on this, watching how I dress. I'm not going to just put on a fake ass smile though. That's something I'm not going to do, just force a smile, because people can automatically tell you when you're putting on in front, especially if you act like you're happy to be here. But anyway, enough about that. I'm just do a reaction to something that might lift my spirits, which I guarantee you will based on the title itself. And it's made by this YouTuber named Better with Bob. I ran across this channel. I think he did a video on Van Helsing. I also watched the one he did on Underworld, Rise of the Lycans, and the first Underworld, I believe. And this one was recorded and uploaded 3 years ago, titled "When Mermaid Characters Unintentionally Represent Autism." And the title itself caught my interest, of course, because it is not just because of the month, obviously, but just the title itself. And there's been a little discourse online about how autism is represented in mainstream media and such like that, as far as movies, TV shows, and books. And not that many, like I said, it's not that many that's prevalent per se. And I'm interested in seeing these theories and how he explains it, how he ties it all together. And I never thought about it that way, honestly, when I watched Little Mermaid, because I seen it on the thumbnail. So there's a few other mermaid movies. So I'm gonna see what this video and what the video's looking like in about 3, 2, 1. Just to get my mind off of the job, because it can get stressful at times.
In 2018, YouTuber Anna Moomin released a vlog talking about the 1984 rom-com Splash, where an average Joe falls in love with a mermaid. Anna herself is neurodivergent, specifically autistic, and she found herself relating a lot to the mermaid character.
Really?
It's quite a good analogy to help people to understand autism in specifically females. I mean, it does relate to males as well.
This comparison really got me thinking as well, but we'll come back to that. First, we have to take a small history lesson.
Let's get it.
I can see we have to take this slowly.
To start, we must first highlight the difference between allegory and applicability. An allegory is a story or piece of art that uses symbolism or metaphor to convey a hidden meaning.
In your world, I have another
And
name.
that's another thing that also caught my attention when they used a clip of what was it, Chronicles of Narnia language and wardrobe. And that's one of the prime examples of allegory, because it has a lot of Christian themes to it. tied into the story, and I remember being part of this youth ministry, how they had little pamphlets with like the photo of Aslan and have little Bible scriptures. Damn, it took me back. Goddamn. And hell, it's crazy how I just randomly remember shit that I thought I'd forgotten about, but yeah. But that's for another video.
You must learn to know me by it.
Applicability is where a consumer of a piece of media can find parallels between what the art is actually depicting and something completely unrelated.
Conceal, don't feel.
Allegory tends to be intentional. For example, Buffy in its 4th season decided to have the characters Willow and Tara become a couple, and because the WB network was very strict on what could be shown on television, they instead used the characters' exploration of magic as an allegory for exploring their sexuality.
We'll start out slow. Okay.
Once the show moved networks to the more...
I hate to keep on pausing it, but yeah, I could kind of definitely peeped it, and it's, I mean, and plus not to mention, it sucks that the network wasn't bold enough to kind of go in with them being a couple, because this magic came out, I mean, because, whatchamacallit, then again, come to think of it, LGBTQ couples on screen were still controversial subjects, so I guess, I don't want to say I understand, but it's like, I guess that's the reason. But man, what a missed opportunity. And plus, it comes from someone that hasn't really watched many episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But yeah, that clip alone was like, okay, I definitely peeped it. And plus, using the whole magic representing them being a couple type deal, it's like, okay, I can see where it's going with it.
UPN, and the characters were allowed to do much more. They instead portrayed magic as an allegory for drug addiction.
God, I need help.
Applicability, on the other hand, relies on audience interpretation. J.R.R. Tolkien famously hated allegories and preferred merely drawing inspiration from real-life feelings and experiences to create a story that simply is what it is.
It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo. The ones that really mattered.
He drew heavily on his time in the trenches to create that feeling of camaraderie and brotherhood between the Fellowship of the Ring, but insisted the book was not a direct allegory to World War II.
How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad happened?
That hasn't stopped countless people from interpreting a message that wasn't intended because, honestly, it's fun to find these similarities.
I know.
Now, when it comes to neurodivergence, both the actual depictions and the intentional allegories often aren't too popular with the people themselves.
Yeah.
100% don't care. Boop.
I already covered bad autistic representation in my video on the Imitation Game, and I touched on unintentional representation in my video on the Craft. I'm going to expand on the latter. There is a big push nowadays in terms of characters representing identities outside of the typical race, gender, or even sexuality-based ones. But for children in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, who didn't have a character that they were supposed to relate to, they instead found other characters to see themselves in. For example, I can tell that Pinkie Pie of My Little Pony Generation 4 is not intended to represent me. It's actually Twilight Sparkle who struck the majority of neurodivergent chords, and I see similarities between her and myself too. But I found myself relating to Pinkie Pie for several behavioural similarities in a way that was comforting because this character was portrayed as a positive presence.
Can I still wear the mustache?
A more famous example is Data from Star Trek The Next Generation.
There is a certain degree of random fortune involved. I believe that is why they call it gambling.
I've personally never watched any Star Trek related media. You can crucify me if you want.
Yeah.
But an autistic friend of mine made me aware of this character's impact.
Why was she laughing?
Data is an android who struggles to understand social norms in a way that's relatable to a lot of autistic people.
Wa, cha, way.
In addition to this, the character is still portrayed as very strong and intelligent, as well as a vital part of the team.
Sometimes I think it's becoming more human than any of us realize.
Not every autistic person watching Star Trek will relate to Data, because the condition manifests itself in a multitude of ways, and everyone with autism can be incredibly different. But the key thing to take away is that this character was positive, and a section of the audience found something they could relate to, however unintentionally, outside of patronizing or victimizing narratives. So where do mermaids come in?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know.
Creature, half woman, half fish.
Classical depictions of these fish women tended to skew more towards the negative.
They are dark creatures, in touch with all things mysterious.
Mermaids were often lumped together with sirens, the seductive women who lured sailors to their deaths with haunting songs, as a symbol of dangerous temptation.
We used to sing good duets, though. I have rather a nice voice, you know.
Other works leaned into the fact that these gals were half human and had fun giving them their own sets of rules and customs befitting someone who was raised underwater rather than on land. And it's here that led to us gravitating towards the more benign mermaids of the 20th century.
To me, you seem to have a
tail?
Yeah.
I have. I'm a mermaid.
The first famous movie mermaid was the title character of the British comedy Miranda in 1948.
So you've got a wife?
Yes.
Well, there are plenty of men on land. She'll soon find another one.
While the eponymous Miranda is an amoral seductress who has no problem having her way with 3 men who will be taken just so she can have a baby, the character is not portrayed that negatively.
Well, aren't there any men under the sea who you could give them to?
Oh, yes, a few. But they have little eyes and flat noses, most unattractive. That's why we're practically extinct.
She charms everyone around her with her beauty, wit, and free spirit, and Glynis Johns' performance is just...
But don't you find your tail rather a handicap with the gentleman?
Oh, no. It provides what you might call an element of surprise.
Miranda very obviously thinks differently from the normal women around her, and this is the source of much hilarity.
Well, I think they both wanted to marry you.
Both of them.
Isn't it absurd?
She has several moments of bluntness and unfiltered honesty that are reminiscent of 1 or 2 people I know.
You're very beautiful, aren't you? Paul said you were just nice looking.
And this all makes for a very positive depiction of a woman who thinks differently and sees the world in her own way, without being othered or demonized. Plenty of critics noted that Miranda could be seen as a symbol of post-World War II optimism and liberation.
Now that could be another way to look at it. You know, if this was made in '48, which has been 3 years since World War II has ended, so that could very well be the case here. Yeah, I might even write this down as far as movies to watch list. Damn, I have to rewind it after I get done doing this reaction.
She's shown as a fun character, allowed to be shamelessly unconventional, especially for the 1940s.
Stop! You must stop! Come, miss! Let her have her fling. She likes the cockle, same as me. Right. More.
Similar is Mr. Peabody and the Mermaid, released the same year, and this mermaid is completely non-verbal, while still being an active character. I'm not saying that there's autistic coding there for these two, but I can see how they bridge the gap between dangerous siren leading you to your doom and...
Voice sounds funny.
Well, it's called sarcasm. What, they don't have that where you come from either?
Madison from Splash is our first mermaid on this list for whom the coding is definitely there.
Even though Madison the mermaid isn't supposed to be autistic, there's a lot of parallels there.
Anna Moomin pointed out many similarities between Madison and herself, including the obvious part where she doesn't seem able to understand Alan's sarcasm.
Do you speak English?
She also spends the first half of the movie entirely non-verbal.
I didn't know English.
Oh, I see. And now you do?
Yes, I learned this afternoon from television. It's wonderful.
And her eventually learning English from just watching TV for 6 hours is actually a very simplified form of echolalia, where a child will learn a language by repeating sentences they've heard elsewhere, and it's how many autistic children learn how to speak.
Now I can ask you questions, and if you answer them correctly, you can win one of these valuable prizes.
Her trouble with language likewise has her sometimes take things literally, like when she thinks Alan's present for her is the actual box itself.
It's beautiful.
She initially lacks a sense of danger, such as when she leaves Alan's apartment by herself and walks around the street, which reminds me a little of that time I got myself lost in New Jersey at 17, but that's another story.
I'd love to hear that one.
Madison is also unfamiliar with many social norms, which is justified by her having grown up underwater, but is familiar to many autistic people.
Are you from Cape Cod?
No, I'm from another place.
These struggles with social norms and a lack of awareness about her surroundings don't have her seen as slow, just unused to the environment she finds herself in.
I'm sorry, that's how we eat lobster where I come from.
Madison also spends the film trying to hide her identity and pretend to be a normal human, which is very applicable to the practice of masking, where autistic people imitate the behaviour of neurotypicals around them to better fit in or pass. And a key reason for Madison hiding her true identity from Alan is the fear that he will reject her. And outside of this coding, Madison is still presented as a positive character with whom the audience is meant to sympathize.
Why?
Because I love you.
She's portrayed as beautiful and desirable, and shown to be worth so much to Alan that he happily gives up his life on land to be with her.
I wish I could go with you.
You can.
Madison is also a sex-positive character who's in charge of her own sexuality. Considering that pop culture loves to portray autistics as asexual or incapable of having romance, you can see why this character has such resonance. What's more is that, years later at the age of 52, Daryl Hannah publicly revealed that she was autistic herself.
Oh, shit.
She was diagnosed as a child, meaning she was aware of her condition when she played the role. While we can't say for sure that these parallels were intended by her, it definitely enhances the viewing experience.
This is a big secret you
I've seen that quite a bit with folks in her age group. The actress's name from Splash mentioned how they were diagnosed with autism. More oftentimes it's be like late diagnosis after years of living and figure out, wondering what was wrong with them and such, and not having that support system. But the fact that she was diagnosed that early as a kid, yeah, that's something you don't really see every day. Like, well, until we're like, she must be in her 50s or 60s. Like, the fact she like was diagnosed early, that's dope. And plus, not to mention, dude got some good points. Knew how to put all these ideas together, kind of presented them very coherent. And I might pause after the 11th minute mark.
From me? Is it that you're a mermaid, or is there something else?
No, that's it.
Now, I didn't grow up with Splash, but I did find myself getting influenced by another famous mermaid.
Ariel!
Ariel.
How you doing, kid?
I did a video on the misguided feminist backlash to Ariel from The Little Mermaid 3 years ago, so you can all probably tell that this character means a lot to me. And it was after watching Anna's video about Madison last year that led to me re-examining just what made Ariel so appealing.
Anything so wonderful in your entire life? Wow, cool.
The most obvious character trait is her narrowly defined interest that she is very dedicated to, and it's unusual to those around her. 18-year-old me with a super specific knowledge of 90s and 2000s women's wrestling nods and sympathizes. Ariel also doesn't appear to have any friends her own age, or species, and is obviously very lonely where she is, with this hobby providing some form of comfort.
A bandit, bulbous, narflat.
This next trait isn't one I relate to specifically.
Alright. That was it, and it was about to get good, but I'm going to pause it right here, so I won't be on here for too long. But I'm definitely impressed in how well the whole, like, and how well the argument, not the argument, more so the case for, like, mermaid characters unintentionally representing autism, whatever. I think that did a good job as far as illustrating his points, and definitely very interested in watching more of this video. Oh snap, I see, and as soon as I click on this video to react to, there's a few other videos that have a similar subject. Like there's one a month ago, well, matter of fact, let me read the comments though. Hi, checking an autistic redhead marine biologist, 2 different aerial cosplays by Claus using a song from Aquamarine in my wedding later this year. How dare you talk about it? Oh man, let's see. Okay, I see a lot of people that are connected to it. Okay. Let's see, one other person is autistic female, find this very informative and interesting. I never thought about this far exclusively on the fish. How war parallels self right that we altogether represent as victims of parents for our caregivers as kids. I'm seeing my brain. That's so unapologetic yourself. First she was watching me off how high Ramus, so thank you for that. Yeah, this one was long as hell, so I ain't gonna read that, but like I see a lot of people coming through giving like live testimony such, because it definitely resonates with that audience, and definitely looking forward to watching more of this video. And you want to react to more, say, video essays or songs, music videos, countdowns, movie, TV show clips, or say I didn't say countdowns. I already just said countdowns. Or you want me to react to, say, interviews from famous people or anything that's going on in this crazy ass world, let me know in the comments section below. And if this is your first time watching this reaction video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that notification button, hit that subscribe button as well, and also be sure to hit that, and also be sure to follow me on my social media accounts, which will be posted in the description box below. And I'm just glad to watch something that's uplifting and positive, that can take my mind off of work. Thank God. So I might get back to my regular programming with the reaction requests. So stay tuned for another video, probably sometime either this evening or tomorrow. So Don't. So just wait on it. This your boy Blak G92 about to sign off. Holla at your boy.